Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Welcome back to the Entre Architect podcast. My name is Mark Arlepage, and today I'm excited to bring you something very special. It's a Best of 2024 episode. As we take a short break to prepare fresh, new, inspiring content for you, we're diving into one of your all-time favorite episodes from this past year. This conversation, chosen based on your listener feedback and our analytics, it truly highlights the insights and strategies that have resonated most with our community of small firm architects. Whether you're listening here for the first time or revisiting this conversation, I know that you're going to walk away with ideas that you can apply to your practice today, right now. We'll be back in February with a brand new season of episodes packed with actionable advice, expert interviews, and the tools that you need to thrive in 2025. But until then, this is the perfect time to reflect recharge, and get inspired for what's next. Thank you for being part of this growing community of architects. It's your commitment to building better businesses that keeps me moving forward. So thank you. Now enjoy this best of 2024 episode, and let's make 2025 our best year yet. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to Entre Architect Podcast, where each week I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. Lauren Genest and Carey Balogh, welcome to Entre Architect Podcast.
Thank you so much for having us, Mark.
We're so happy to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you both here. Brand Groupies is your company, PR company, and you and I have been communicating and talking and helping and supporting one another for a very long time. This is a long time coming. You should have been on the show a long time ago. But I'm glad you're here. I'm really excited to have you both here.
So are we.
Thank you, Mark. I think it's fair to say we're some of your biggest groupies.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right, let me introduce you for anybody who may not know who you are. Carey Balogh is the founder and CEO of Brand Groupies, a full-service PR and personal branding agency that partners with B2B service companies and C-suite leaders like us. Brand Groupies brings a 360-degree approach to every strategy, driving long-term growth and increasing brand awareness for legacy organizations, just like our friends over at Mancini Duffy. If you've seen anything that Mancini Duffy has been doing online, Brand Groupies is the power behind Mancini Duffy. And so they're doing a great job. And Lauren Genest is the partner and president of Brand Groupies, equal parts creative and strategic. Lauren is a corporate communications and public relations expert who helps executives shape their personal personas and lots more. I'm not going to share your entire stories because I want you to do that. I'd love to start with Carey, share your origin story, sort of go back as far as you want to go back.
Wow.
And share your story to how you got inspired to do what you do. When did you discover your passion for what you do? And then lead us up to this. And then we'll bring Lauren into it as well.
Well, it's so funny. When you said go way back, I started to really go way back. And, my father was an artist and would subscribe to Architectural Digest. So we always had the magazines in the house. And funny enough, I wanted to be an architect when I grew up, but I ended up going into public relations and ended up in the fashion industry. So worked between New York City and Milan for fashion designers and brands such as Gucci and Hublot, and really had incredible training in such a cutthroat industry that it really helped to level up my skill set and pay attention to detail. Did that for a number of years and always was, actually, if we go way back, I was a cheerleader and dancer at my university, University of Maryland. So I was always like behind the scenes, cheering clients on. As a fashion publicist, you're always promoting the designer behind the brand. And so it was really something I was so passionate about. I would kind of see the potential of brands and people and just want to get it out there and communicate it. I was a PR major, so it was only natural. And then I was living in the city and had kids. And then I decided to try to be an entrepreneur and opened up a kids rock and roll themed play space in Williamsburg.
That's cool.
Brooklyn. So I had that experience, then moved to Jersey and I said, I'm going to consult, Brand Groupies. We're going to help everyone in mixing, the corporate experience with my entrepreneurial experience. And then it was 2017, Christian Giordano is a friend and he said, hey, I just bought Mancini Duffy. Well, a few years before that, I'd love for you to come on board. And I said, I love design. It's a passion. I thought it was an interesting opportunity and jumped in and quickly realized that, the design and architecture industry was different. I thought it would be just like the fashion industry and that there was a lot of opportunity for growth. And after that, I was sold and just been loving it, ever since.
What was the inspiration at the very beginning? You said you were interested in architecture and design, but you've pursued PR. So what was the inspiration to move in that direction?
I know. I don't know if I had the best guidance because I just thought, oh, if you're not good at math, you can't be an architect, but I would be design.
So many guidance counselors have ruined the paths of architects.
I know. And so I literally would have drawings. I would draw in the 80s. I have houses and homes and, floor plans. I would just always be drawing those. And then I think in college, my first year in college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I had a friend who was a year above me doing PR, and I looked at the course load, and every single class I had taken freshman year, was a prerequisite. So it just was like, oh, I never heard of PR. And then it just was something I jumped into, and I love to communicate, and I love, all of that. And I'm a people person, so it made sense.
So friends with Christian Giordano over at Mancini Duffy, president of Mancini Duffy, you worked with them from the beginning when he came on. Were you working for Mancini Duffy as an employee, or were you a consultant right from the beginning?
Actually, a consultant. So I came on, and at that time, Brand Groupies we were doing websites. So we did the Mancini Duffy website and came on board for social. So we really started with social and didn't start PR with them until Lauren came on board in 2020.
All right. Well, that's a great introduction to Lauren. Expert, Gary. Very good. So, Lauren, what's your story? Go back as far as you want to go back. Some architects go all the way back to birth. So
I know. You know what? I was born into this in some really crazy way. So many people within my family are in the built world. My grandfather owned a company called Evans Asphalt. My parents worked there in their young 20s. My dad worked for the state of Pennsylvania in roads, on the construction side. And then my mom was an interior designer. She still is my whole life. And my dad used to joke that he would never come home in the dark and sit down because she was constantly moving furniture or selling furniture for like a better couch. She'd say, oh, sure, you can buy our couch and I have my eye on this one. So it was just naturally, I think, kind of within my environment. There were always wallpaper books and, fabric swatches. And so I actually met Carey through her sister. We went to the University of Delaware together. I had thought I'd be an education major. And when I got my 8 a.m. course load the summer before heading off to school, I quickly opened up the book of options for different majors. And I said, I'm not doing 8 a.m. classes every morning. And I'm going to be a communications major. And thank God I made that shift. So I think there was always this natural desire to educate, going way back to when I was younger. And then the communication major, I didn't really know what track I would go in that, but I knew that I wanted to have flexibility when I graduated. And I love the idea of being able to go into any industry. And after I met Carey's sister, we used to go up and visit her during New York Fashion Week. And I always loved fashion magazines. I remember waiting for the new magazines to drop, and I would just sit and devour the content and the covers and the photographers. And I ended up following in Carey's footsteps. She was a few years ahead of me. I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I had no idea that the world of fashion PR existed. And I ended up doing that for about 20 years. And I was blessed to work with some of the most interesting and elevated brands in the industry like Hermes and Burberry, and learning from their internal teams and helping them execute PR campaigns and events, and really learning how to tell the story of a brand, how to protect a brand. And, not all press is good press. And I did that for almost 20 years. And when I made the move from the city in Hoboken, New Jersey, down to the beach where Carey lives, she was one of my first calls. And I said, I think I'm looking to make a transition. And she said, you're hired. Let's start a PR division. Our clients definitely need PR. And we had always kept in touch over the years. So we actually signed our first PR client on March 1st, 2020. And the rest is history. Although 13 days later, as you can imagine, when the world blew up, we were like, oh no, are we going to stick? And it was awesome because the built world never went away during COVID, as you know. It was essential worker clients, and we grew during COVID. And that was really how we ended up here.
Yeah, I love those stories. And I love how you both mesh, right? Your strengths that come together, and that shows in the work that you do. I also love the background in fashion, right? Fashion brands are some of the most iconic brands in the world, in history, right? And you've worked for them. You helped them promote those brands. Hermes, Burberry, Calvin Klein, Gucci, those are brands that everybody in the entire world know. And I love that you can bring that experience to architecture, right? Architecture is an industry that is decades behind the rest of the world, especially with marketing and branding. None of them were doing it. They're just starting to transition to doing that. Some of the larger firms are starting to understand that, bringing teams in that have marketing teams that understand that. Brand Groupies, consulting with larger firms and medium, small size firms. That message is starting to get some traction, right? They're starting to understand that that's a critical piece to building a business. And Brand Groupies is right there to do that. So I want to sort of understand how and what you do in terms of taking your experience with those iconic brands and bringing them to a brand like Mancini Duffy. How do you make that connection and get the architecture firms to actually be on board with the things that you want to do?
Well, thank you for acknowledging that it is, a little bit behind, because we're realizing that. And it's funny, by taking this fashion lens to this industry, it just came naturally to us to identify the key faces behind the brand, because we know people buy from people. So how do we tell that story? And we kind of doing social media and PR simultaneously. And then it hit us like, it is not clear, is social part of PR? Is PR part of social? And they just, right now, they, definitely overlap. And so we coined the term So PR, because, Lauren will get our clients out there on podcasts, in the media, quoted on panels, keynote speaking. And then, I oversee the social division, and then we will take that and we will spread that out. We will create evergreen content. And it's just like a machine with that 360-degree approach, like every single detail, every single word, every single, video clip has that message, and we can control that and rotate it consistently. So the perception is huge.
So the combination of social and PR is a profession that's been around for centuries, right? That they've been promoting through PR, through public relations, making those connections, getting stories out through newspapers and television, and being on radio shows. And now with the dawn of the internet in the 90s, things start shifting, right? That social media and the internet become part of this industry that, it's a totally new format, totally new media. And so bringing those two together make total sense, but they're not all doing it, right? There's still PR companies and social media companies and marketing companies, and they're all separate. And what you've done is you brought that PR and social media together, which makes total sense. And you can see the process when you see the work that you do and how that works. What are some of the things that our audience are small firms, right? Lots of small business owners, sole practitioners, firms of 10 members or less. What are some of the things that they could be doing that you're doing with larger firms to help their firms sort of get out there in a way that's not just one, social media post here, one over there, maybe a press release for the PR, get that out there, right? And I'm going to do that. And none of that really works because there's no strategy. So what are some of the things that we should be paying attention to as small firm architects?
I would say the first thing to get started with is to have a consistent message. So really align internally with your company on how you're going to speak about your company. Get that elevator pitch down, and then share it with your whole company so that when they're going out and they're talking about who they work with and who they work for, you're all saying the same thing, and almost to the point of being redundant, because consistency is key. And that's really where this 360 approach comes in. It's not just about social and PR. It's about your website having consistent messaging. It's about, the founders' LinkedIn profiles having consistent messaging. And then when you're out and about, in the real world, you're all talking about the firm and its services and its sectors in a really consistent way so that there's complete clarity about who you are, how you add value, and what you do. I'd say that's the first thing that's so simple. I think it's harder than it sounds, but that's a really great, almost free place to start without having to invest much, is really putting your heads together and figuring out how are we going to talk about this brand in a consistent way.
So you need a brand story.
Yes.
That everybody understands and can internalize, right? It becomes part of who they are. Every partner in the firm understands what that story is. Every employee knows what that story is. So anytime anybody talks about the brand or talks about the company, they can share the same consistent story. You said that it's simple but not easy. That's exactly right. So because if it was easy, architects would all have their brand story figured out and it'd be ready to go.
Yeah.
When you first start working with a firm, and that's the first step they need to take, what's the process that you go through to get that brand story written and be consistent? How do you get them to do that?
Something we're very passionate about is something called the brand pillars. And we actually created them years ago, even for small businesses. And when I tell you this process can work for a solopreneur to a multi-million-dollar firm. So we do a brand discovery session where we basically break it down to the brand pillars. The number one brand pillar is the face or faces of the brand. 1 to 3 faces are better than 10. So there's that consistency. Establish, who's going to talk about what. If one person maybe is a mom and is a female, there might be some press angles that they could talk to. If the CEO is into technology, they go out to the technology press. And so, can really round out that. The second pillar is the services. So basically, if you offer 20 services, really try to narrow it down to your top 2 to 3 revenue streams. Again, you can't name drop all of them, but be very succinct. What sets you apart? Some of our clients have a pending technology aspect where that sets them apart, and then location and target audience. So are you national? Are you local? Really go all in on your target market. And everyone wants to be a national firm, but hey, if in your county, you should be, it's like the smallest viable market, really identify that market and go all in and be the best firm in that county. Then the state, and just go all in there. And then it's your fourth pillar is your wow factor, So what sets you apart? Are you a decades-old company? Do you have a component that is a differentiator? The people on your team, what do they bring? And really, niche down and think about what sets you apart and, compared to other brands out there that you can talk about. So it's not so generalized, we're an architecture design firm, it's like,
yes.
What's the meat? And then, we take those brand pillars and then we create the elevator pitch and we pull out all the wow factors and really, take time and come up with that elevator pitch using all the key pillars.
Yeah. Simple, but not easy. That's why people hire brand groupies to help them do that.
That's right. And those pillars get rotated through our PR approach. Yeah. So then we're using the faces in PR. We're talking about the services. We're going out to a certain location, wherever you are. And then Carey takes those pillars and that's how she comes up with her content calendars, rotating the pillars.
Let's take a quick break to say thank you to our sponsors for their support of this episode. Architects, listen up. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world and is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. I know this community of small firm architects very well, and I see many of you struggling. That's why I reached out to this episode's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote. And by filling out just a few questions, BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in the show notes. It's betterhelp.com/architect. Just use that link, betterhelp.com/architect. Clicking that link helps support this podcast, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. So you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. If you need someone to talk to, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the show notes or visit betterhelp.com/architect. That's betterhelp.com/architect. Thank you to BetterHelp for supporting this podcast and for supporting our community of small firm architects. ARCAT's Spec Wizard is the tool that will help you save time writing specifications. Going through the manufacturer's specification line by line to find the right product leads to frustration and errors. And that's where SpecWizard comes in. It's a free, patented tool that allows you to select products and options error-free and generate a 3-part specification in minutes. Go to arcat.com, that's ARCAT.com, and try SpecWizard today. Please visit our sponsors today and thank them. Thank them for supporting you, the Entre Architect community. What I heard you say, Carey, is through every one of those pillars is to focus. Niche down, right?
Yes.
Get to the meat of it, right? Get to the heart of it. What's the most important thing? With the faces, you may have 5 faces.
Yes.
Which are the 2 or 3 that you're going to focus on? Those are going to be the people that you focus on with your social media and PR, right? With Mancini Duffy, clearly Christian, right? Clearly Bolanle. She's out there talking, right? Those faces are the faces that you've selected through that process, obviously.
Yeah.
Services. What are the services that the firm does? Again, niche down. This is something that we talk about on the podcast all the time. What is your target market? What is the thing that you do? Right? You can't do everything. And you can do everything, but you can't promote everything. Because then there's no focus, right? It's just, you just become this diluted nothing. And then location and target audience. Who are you talking to? Where are you talking to? And then, wow, what's your differentiation? What makes you different? Not 20 different things, 1 or 2 things, right? What's the thing that you are known for? So that's so important. It's like a broken record on this podcast. You need to focus. You need to pick a brand. You need to pick a target audience. Even if you want to do it all, in order to build a brand and to be able to do social media and PR, it gets easier, right?
So it does.
Once you nail those down, and you have to have at least 2 pillars that are unique, because you might be an architecture firm in New York City. So 2 pillars are going to be the same as everyone else. And then when people say, oh, I don't want to be the face, I don't want to be that, that pillar is the differentiator, because no one is like you. You're original. You're a differentiator from day one. Like, you're different and no one's like you. So that, we feel, is just
Yeah, and I think when you look at the faces, then we get really nitty-gritty about the faces and their wow factors too.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Bolanle. She's a CFO. She is a best-selling Amazon author. She's a mom. She, founded a school in Nigeria. I could go on and on and on. We work, the CEO from Mancini is also a literal rock star. He has multiple albums on Spotify. We work with a waterfront architect who, played D1 soccer and is a civil engineer and an architect who doesn't build buildings. And so, being able to rattle off those just really quick, wow, okay, wait, I want to learn more just after those, couple sentences. That's the hook.
So once you get those pillars down and you write that story, right? So now you have it documented and everybody understands what it is, right? You distribute it through your firm and make sure everybody internalizes it. It's the thing that you talk to your clients about. It's the thing that when you're at the kids' dance there and somebody asks what you do, that's the story that you share, right? So it's always the same thing. And then your social media is also pointing back to that. The PR that's being done is all pointing back to that. So it's consistent and all saying the same thing. So when you do start doing social media with this, right? So you've done this and you have your pillars, you've written your brand story. What's the next step? What is the next step once you have these pillars established and you've written that story? How do you build a strategy around that?
Well, I think for social media, then you take that and create a strategy and decide, okay, what are the 3 to 4 things we're going to post on social? So, for executives, 1 could be sharing articles. 2, create a podcast or write a blog. It's like, where are you getting your content? That's why, of course, we love podcasts, because it just gives us so much content and it's just timeless, clips that we can use over and over again. And it just has such amazing assets. And then we decide how we're going to incorporate and share from the company brand as well, because we can cross-post for that as well. And then, of course, projects are a big part of it too. Projects for example, Mancini, we have projects, the design lab, the tool belt technology, the leadership. So there's all these buckets that we continuously, rotate. And what does an example post look like of a podcast launch or a podcast clip? What does an example post look like of sharing an article or, posting a quote? And it's also establishing the topics each person's going to talk to. So, we really nail it down. They're going to talk about 3 to 4 things and that's it. We're going to rotate it, things they're passionate about, and really stay on brand at all times.
It's interesting that once you have those pillars, how easy it gets.
Yes. It gets so once you nail it.
Yes.
Right. Because you have the faces figured out. You have the services figured out. You know who your audience is and your location. You have your differentiation. So now every piece of social media that you put out could be one of those, right? It could be something about a face. It could be about something about the service, something about the company, something that's differentiation about the firm. Right? Architects are always like, well, what do I put on social media? I don't know. I'm just going to put a picture of the house I'm working on.
The
Company culture is a big pillar
well.
of Mancini and talent acquisition. That's huge.
And so it's, if you do that early work, build your story around these 4 pillars, everything else gets easier. What about the platforms, right? There's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, there's Twitter/X. All the different platforms that you could use in social. How do you choose where to post the content that you're creating?
I think it's, for us and our B2B clients, LinkedIn is number one. So we know the AEC industry is very strong on there. So it's really awesome. And that's our number one place because all the decision makers are there, partners are there. Instagram is big for talent acquisition. So many people that come to our clients' firms say, oh, I love the company culture on Instagram, or I listen to The Anti-Architect. I feel a bond already with Christian, who I've never met, and I wanted to work there. So of course, we still post to other platforms, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, and we're purposing just to kind of see where things go. As you know, they're always changing. One could go up and one could go down. And the challenge is, as you know, with social, it's evolved so much where, the budgets aren't huge, but yet you have to have the high-end video and the amazing copywriting and the strategy and the posting and the community management, not only answering the outbound engagement as well, really picking who you're going to engage with, who are the top people and journalists and podcast hosts. So there's so much to it. It's a lot. It's a full-time job for sure.
Yeah. We actually not only do social for firms, but we also do social for C-suite leaders. So we actually manage personal branding for many leaders within the industry. And that looks like, PR for them personally. And then also we might manage their LinkedIn platform, their Instagram platform, because so many busy C-suite execs realize the value, I think, but they just don't have the time or the resources to do it themselves. And so for visibility purposes, we found that can really move the needle as well as sort of a separate service of ours.
Yeah. There is so much change happening in terms of technology, which is affecting the way we do everything, right? Architects are being affected by that. Social media is being affected by that. PR is being affected by that. AI is going to shift everything, right? Everything's going to change by that. But everything is still human to human, right? You're still making connections people to people. And so the work that you're doing is going to continue to be critical and maybe even more important as technology starts to take over some of the other things that technology can do. The things that are automated, the things that don't need to be human to human will become automated. But that human to human connection is going to be the thing that ultimately could become a differentiator for some firms. What do you see as this evolves and technology starts to do some of the things that architects do and some things that PR and social media companies do? What does Brand Groupies look like 3 to 5 years from now? What do you see the future bringing to the work that you do?
It's a good question. I mean, I think, like you said earlier, I think when it comes to social and PR, we're still just scratching the surface in this industry. Where we came from in fashion, everybody had a PR and a social media firm. So they were either going to hire me or you, Mark, or Carey. It wasn't like, should we hire someone? It was like, we'll definitely hire someone.
Yes.
And I think, the whole mission of Brand Groupies is really to be shaking things up and to help people understand the value of how these different services, why they should be introduced to the industry and how they can shake things up. So while I think technology will play a part, I still feel like we're so at the beginning of even having these words, these services incorporated into the larger industry. I think it's why we are naturally attracted to brands that are already doing things differently, right? So Mancini, they hired software developers 10 years ago, way before anyone was thinking about making that a full-time job within an architecture firm. And so I think for us, the role of technology will certainly play a part. I think what part, that's still to be determined for us. And so I think we'll have to see.
Yeah, I know. And coming from fashion, we were always 2 seasons ahead. So one of our pillars is staying on the cutting edge. It's like we have to be on it. When Threads launched, we're still seeing the, return on investment for that. But,
Sure.
We had all our clients up that day. We're just 2 steps ahead. And I think that's how we'll always run the firm.
Yeah. For architects, there are a lot of architects who are really frightened by technology and AI. And they sort of see that, this potentially could take over what we do. But it's just a tool, right? It's just going to make our jobs easier. It's going to do the things that we don't really need to do will become automated or supplemented. And it will focus on the things that we really are great at, that technology can't replace. And social media and PR, that's humans, right? That's people. That's human to human, which will make your work even more important, right? So this podcast episode is going to become critical as the future continues because the stories of the people are going to become more and more important. And the faces that you say in your first pillar are going to become more and more important because the people that you work with is going to be the differentiator, right? If everybody has the same technology and all can do the same thing, it comes down to the creativity and the personalities of the people that are running these companies.
Yes. Exactly. We couldn't agree with you more. It was I feel like it was a novel idea when we introduced it 6-7 years ago when we started with Mancini. And we say it every day, lead and run with your people.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned, we're talking to thousands of small firm architects, business owners. I always like to end our podcasts with a takeaway that they can execute today, right? So what's one thing that a small firm architect can do today? As soon as they finish listening to this, they want to go and do it. That's going to build a better business for tomorrow.
Yeah, we might agree on the same thing.
I was thinking.
Yeah, it could be one that you both say.
Post on LinkedIn. Just, think about 2 to 3 things that you are excited about, you're passionate about, you do at your firm. And even if it's just what you're reading, just share an article, give a one-liner, what you think about it, and even just start once a week. Maybe go up to 2 because, they say 1% of people on LinkedIn are posting. Everyone else is just reading. So once you start, you're going to get eyes and it's not too late. You could just start, find an article, post it today, tag the outlet and the writer and just say, I found this interesting and stick to, some of the key things that you do.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Is that the secret? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning?
Oh, yeah. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, early morning. Great time to post on LinkedIn.
All right.
And from a PR lens, I would say we love LinkedIn. So yes, I totally agree with Carey. But from a PR lens, I would say, a lot of podcast hosts are small business owners too. And if there's a podcast that you love, shoot the host a note and ask if they'd be open to having you guest on the podcast and explain why and give them that elevator pitch and what makes you different and what you admire about that podcast, why you tune in or why you've been tuning in for 6 or 7 years, and take a shot, put yourself out there, or have someone in your firm do it for you if you're one of the leaders, and then use that content on social.
Yeah, that's great advice. Many of our most popular episodes have come through Brand Groupies, so that's an excellent suggestion.
Thank you.
Lauren Genest and Carey Balogh, they are Brand Groupies. You should go check out their website at brandgroupies.com. If you have any questions, they will answer them. If you have any need for the services that they do, PR, social media, all of the things around it, all 360, they do it all. So go check them out. brandgroupies.com. Just go click brandgroupies.com and just tell them, say hi. Just say, hey, I just heard you on Entree Architect podcast and I just wanted to say hi. thank you for coming by here today. They're on LinkedIn. They're on all the socials. Go connect with them. Lauren Genest, Carey Balogh. We'll have all of that stuff on the show notes. Thank you for doing what you do. We need the things that you do. Architects are desperately lacking the work that you do. And so by doing the work that you do, it's actually showing other architects how to do it too, right? And so I appreciate you for doing that, for dedicating yourself to this industry and helping us learn how to do social media, how to do PR the right way. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for coming by here and joining the audience at Entre Architect Podcast.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. So grateful for you.
Such
Thanks
a pleasure. Thank you.
It was fun.
If you liked this episode of Entre Architect Podcast, please share a link to this episode with a friend. Either just click the share button or highlight the URL and send the link to this episode with a friend, because that's how Entre Architect has grown to serve thousands more architects just like you throughout the 10 plus years of Entre Architect. That's how we've grown, architect to architect. So I would love for you to share this episode and all the episodes with one friend every week. We'd love that. And thank you to our sponsors for this episode. We don't have an episode if there's no sponsors. So thank you to our sponsors. Links to those sponsors, which you should go visit and click, and all the resources that we discussed today for this specific episode, they are all available at entrearchitect.com/podcast. Every episode that we've recorded is there, entrearchitect.com/podcast. Go click the links to the sponsors and say hello. Entre Architect is a member of the Gable Media Podcast Network. You should go visit that at gablemedia.com. That is the next evolution of interactive media and resources for the AEC community. You can now earn continuing education credits for listening to select episodes of this podcast, Entre Architect Podcast. Yes, AIA CEUs for listening to a podcast. It's there, and many other podcasts are there as well, and you can listen to all of them and get credit. Learn more about our program, Gable Members Program, at the gablemedia.com/members website. That's GABL media.com/members. And if you are a small firm architect, join us today at Entre Architect Network. That is the worldwide organization for small firm entrepreneur architects. If you own your own architecture firm, you are an entrepreneur architect. You are an Entre Architect. With weekly live group business coaching, we have business coaching there, monthly live business training with AIA CEUs, 2 a month, so 24 AIA credits per year, including 12 of those are HSWs. We have them in the membership. Business resources, all the resources you need to run your business, special session webinars, mastermind groups, and a thriving community of small firm architects just like you. Hundreds of architects are there waiting for you to join. So we provide the support and encouragement you need to succeed as a small firm architect. I know that you haven't been trained as a business person when you launched your firm. That's what we do. Come learn how to run a business at Entre Architect Network. And today you can go join right now for free for 30 days at this link, entrearchitect.com/30 days will give you free 30 days for membership. Go check it out at entrearchitect.com/30 days, and I will see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of Entre Architect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage, and I want you to remember 3 words: love, learn, share. Have a great day.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything. From reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark R. LePage, founder of Entre Architect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.